Good evening. I'm going to call to order the Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, May 1st, 2019. Our first order of business on tonight's agenda is the discussion of the enforcement order and plan for 17 Wareham Street. How are you?
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Mark Garrett, Principal Investigator of the Garrett Group, and I am representing Ashley Souza and Chris Mesalewski relative to the enforcement order and conservation issues on the site. I had prepared a letter response over the weekend which we had discussed at the previous site visit, and we have responded to all the requests made by the Conservation Commission, short of presenting a replication plan to you, which is due to you by May 31st of this year. And our intention was to file a notice of intent to request permission and authorization to do some of the activities on site. If I might, can I turn in through the agent 2 original signed copies? You got electronic signed copies. It's the exact same report, just with my handwritten signature on it, as opposed to a computer-generated signature.
So this was the,
Okay.
That's the latest.
Brooke, did I give you 2 or 3?
You gave me 3.
Oh, one of them's mine.
Oops. So we'll have to split them up, I guess.
I'll give it to you.
Oh, okay.
I just need
Okay.
it for my
Yep.
talking points.
Send this down. It's just the-
I cited on the first pages the actual issues, violations cited in the enforcement order of February 27th, and I issued responses to all of those specific issues. In short, at the site visit 2 Thursdays ago, I guess, we discussed moving the debris back, all of the debris except for a portion of the long timber logs back beyond the 65-foot buffer. We have in fact done that, and in fact moved them beyond the 100-foot buffer. So there is nothing within 100 feet of the
Riverbank?
of the riverbank or the BVW. As a matter of fact, the debris is pulled probably about as far back in the upland bog as is reasonably possible with the timber logs in place. The other issue was the cutting. We've discussed that. We are not going to be doing any cutting of any more vegetation. That is ceased and desisted. And we are going to let that naturally revegetate and take a look at it at the end of the growing season to see how it's recovered and decide whether additional augmentation needs to be done. The ramp, which is cited in the enforcement order as an asphalt or a blacktop ramp, is actually processed material. It is permeable as opposed to blacktop, which is not. And that remains in place. That is part of what we were going to ask for permission in the upcoming notice of intent. The restoration plan is going to be part and part of the notice of intent. That was cited as being required by May 31st of 2019. We will have a notice of intent filed, or let me rephrase that. Our intention is to file a notice of intent prior to May 31st. We did not have time to make the submittal timeline for the May 15th hearing. Brooke and I discussed that, and I said, we'll shoot for the next meeting, thinking that there was a meeting at the end of the month prior to the 31st. Brooke informs me that that meeting may take place, the next meeting may take place on June 5th. I would ask that the Concom consider the fact that we're going to have it filed well before the 31st. Our intention was if you had a hearing that last week, we'd be ready to go, and that's still our intention. It's a matter of how you schedule it. If you end up scheduling it for that week, we'll be there. But if it's going to be June 5th, then it's a timing issue and a scheduling issue. We will have stuff in it well in advance, well before the 31st. That's my point. So we are on your timeline relative to getting everything in place. Now, having said all that, and I guess I'll yield to Brooke or somebody else on the commission, I understand that there was a vote at town meeting which may, and I say may impact my client's ability to conduct the business that they want to conduct. I heard about it 10-7 from Brooke. I have not been asked to look at the zoning issues by the client. I was a former chair of both the ZBA and the Planning Board in Plymouth, so I'm aware of zoning and what it does. There may be a grandfathered issue here. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm thinking of all the possibilities. But whether that happens or not, that's subject for a different discussion, and that may impact our ability to file an NOI. My request in the letter that I submitted to Brooke earlier in the week and gave you copies this evening is that we have met every requirement that we've been asked to for corrective action out there. And it was my understanding, I think, that the general consensus was if we move the stuff out of the 65-foot, we would be in good shape relative to the enforcement order. My clients also removed the metal debris and the plastic debris that were not subject to the enforcement order, but in fact were pre-existing debris in the buffer zone along the north side of the upland bog. That's all out. It has been removed, some of which needed to be dug out of the dirt, the Driscoll pipe and the like. There's pictorial evidence of that too. So we have, in the spirit of working cooperatively with the commission, we have done everything we can do within the spirit of, or I should say, within the intention of the enforcement order and to resolve those issues. And we would ask that the commission vote that we have complied with the enforcement order and rescind it with a condition that we file prior to May 1st, because that's the only thing we haven't done. And our intention is to do that. And the only reason we wouldn't do that at this point is if the zoning issue becomes just, it's not cost effective for them to file for that. And then then the real restoration becomes getting the logs out and getting the processed asphalt out. That would be the final steps, and we would do that, I guess, if that's the need, subject to zoning. But as far as conservation is concerned, I believe we have met every one of the requirements except for the last one. And that's my brief presentation.
All right, is everything, including the long logs, out of the 100-foot? Because we had said that those,
No, the long logs haven't moved. What
Okay.
you
So there's a
saw
little
at the
section of it.
site visit is still in place. All the other material, the stumps and the pallets and all that are back near the up-gradient edge of the abandoned bog.
all right, so that small section on the west side of the stacked logs is still within the 100-foot, between the 65?
Yes, we wouldn't touch that, and I think our understanding was, the discussion was, don't touch them until we
That's
figure out
correct.
the rest of the
That's
game plan.
correct. That's what we had said. Everything else, though, is outside of the 100-foot, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We had agreed that we would make a decision tonight, and I think that we should. The zoning issues are not part and parcel of this board. We make a decision based on what we had asked you to do and what's been done. So whatever issues come up with whatever happened at town meeting are not under our purview, so therefore,
I just
it's not-
brought it up because
No, I know. I mean, we're all aware of
it's
it.
germane to where we're going. I'm sure you are, but
Yeah,
it's
we're all aware
germane
of
to
it,
how
but
we
it's-
proceed from here.
right. So do we have some discussion?
Yeah,
Mr. Dempsey?
Yes. Sir, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that the enforcement order stay in place until the NOI is received, to ensure that an NOI is received.
Mr. Chairman, may I comment on
Yes,
that? Because I
yes.
thought about that as a possibility. Mr. Dempsey, would you be comfortable if your vote was conditional, rescinding the EO, conditional on the receipt of an NOI prior to the May 31st deadline?
Yes, in writing, from you,
I'll write the condition for you, absolutely, absolutely.
and I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you.
All right,
Mr. Chairman?
yes, I'm.
And he has a yes vote from me.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Any other comments?
I do.
Okay.
Dan?
No.
I need you to tell me what's going on with the property that we're running light towers, we're cutting wood till 7 o'clock at night. I ran into your neighbor today, and I didn't go seek him out. I was in town hall, and he bumped into me. We're bringing stumps in. He's pretty distraught, and this goes back to that, now what? We have a resident, and then we have an operation, and we try to find a place where there's a balance. And what I'm hearing, obviously, is one side, but I'm hearing that after all this has gone through, we're still not really being a good neighbor. And I have a problem with it, because you're, before this committee, in the very beginning, against your wishes, and now you've complied, which is great, but you kind of got invited to come here to start with, so I don't know how much of what the neighbor is saying. Did he walk in with photos and timestamps and everything? No, he didn't. But did he say that, they're out there with a light tower cutting wood in the dark? So he's looking to us to say, where's my relief? And I said, we're conservation. We're not into the use of the property. Now with the latest bylaws that have changed, honestly and truly, I'd like to see this entire thing postponed, continued, until you sit down with Stephen Cole and see where you're going with this, because this may all be just nothing more than a dog and pony show. If the bylaw stands, from my interpretation of town meeting, and zoning, as you well are aware, ZBA can't grant the variance for use, and neither can the planning board. So if the bylaw is there's going to be no wood processing in the RA, then your operation is done. There's no place to go. There's no adjudication at that point. It's over. Take the wood out of there and find another lot to put it on.
And I think you asked a couple questions in there. I cannot speak to the lights, and I would ask that my client come up here and explain that, because I think it's a valid question. I'm unaware of it, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. I'm not there 24/7.
Nor am I.
I understand that. I
And
understand
I'm
that.
not saying that the butter is 100% accurate either, so I don't want you to think I'm taking their
I
side.
got it.
You guys, I've made this statement to both of you. You guys have done what we've asked you to do, so I'm not trying to be the bad guy.
Right, this is new information to me, so I can't respond. I would ask Chris to come up. On the zoning side of it, I agree. If the bylaw is the bylaw and it stands, and there's no grandfathering provisions, and there is no, well, it's really a grandfathering provision under zoning, then, yeah, the operation is done. However, I would say that in my many years of the zoning side of it, town meeting articles are passed. They're not officially in place until the Attorney General signs off on them.
That's correct.
So there is that gray area. And I don't know, it's my understanding that my clients have filed some sort of request or some sort of permit application with zoning. If that predates town meeting, there are grandfathering provisions for that. So while town meeting may say, no, you can't do it in the RA zone, that may be fine, but that's from when the bylaw becomes official.
And I don't disagree with you.
Okay, so, and all I'm saying is, I don't know the answers to those questions. I'm just saying, when Brooke told me this evening and my zoning wheel started turning, I said, well, okay, we got to know when when it was officially filed, if it was officially filed. What is the timeline versus when the town meeting vote takes place? And then what are the implications relative to the AG signing off on the new bylaw? So we have this big gray area that, and I call it a gray area because I don't have the answers for you right now.
Right.
But this is something that would go on and frankly would, again, have a lot to do with whether we file an NOI or not. Now, if we don't file an NOI, I don't want Mr. Dempsey looking at me saying, well, you know, you wrote the condition. Well, the logs have got to come out of there, so the restoration plan is done. I mean, in essence, it's a de facto thing, and we would have to communicate that to you. But if the zoning bylaw stays in place, we would certainly continue on because we have the opportunity, since the activity could be grandfathered.
Well, I believe the grandfather would only be if it was stipulated in the article.
Well,
No,
that's not
no.
our, that's
No,
not our.
under-
You shouldn't even bring that up. What am I?
No,
talking
under the,
No.
under, no,
We
need to
can't,
talk, we should talk about that.
That's gonna wind up-
This Conservation Commission deals with
Right.
right.
conservation.
And all
I am not gonna
all
go
I'm
there.
saying is,
That was
if
my
zoning,
slip.
if zoning says that can't be done, we're not filing the NOI, because it's not
makes
worth our while to do that.
So then we don't need a variance, we don't need a 100-foot setback variance, and all we need to do is see that the wood gets out of there and that area gets restored back to what it should be.
Yeah.
So
He doesn't need to
I'm
follow
not
us.
inclined to want to sign off on the order at this point until we see what's going on. I strongly recommend that you sit down with Stephen. And he'll give you an absolute as to what your shot is, and he'll tell you right straight out that this is a long shot, or this might work. I don't see there's any advantage to closing out the thing tonight.
I agree.
There's nothing he can do anyhow. And we don't have an NOI, we don't even know if he's gonna file an NOI, so we're back into that, you know, maybe
Alan?
we might.
If I could ask, though, it would go to the point that I raised with Tim. I will craft a condition that covers all of this. I mean, I think one of the things that will help us relative to zoning, even though they're separate jurisdictions, is we've had the discussion that zoning is waiting to see what you're doing. And that might have a sway, a minor one, on the situation. So I would like to walk out of here with the idea that if I can get you to agree to conditional language, and if it's more than one condition, A, will file before May 31st. B, if zoning trumps the use, then we will not file, and we will remove all materials from the 200-foot riverfront area. That should, in my mind, tell me if I'm wrong, but that should cover your jurisdiction and take care of the context of the enforcement order.
But as long as those logs are within the 100-foot, we haven't complied. So these are the splitting hairs. Are we splitting hairs? Yes, I am. The fact of the matter is, as long as that enforcement order is in place, you guys are, and no, I don't mean this disparagingly, but you guys are, this is the incentive for you to continue on doing the right thing. Once the enforcement order is signed off, then it's easier to let it slide till next week. That's my only point. I would personally, that's where I'm voting, Mr. Chairman, that we continue this until we find out what they're planning on doing with planning. Are they filing an NOI? If they have to remove the logs out of the 100-foot, is there going to be an eventual variance if they're allowed to do this work? There's too many unanswered questions for
But
me.
Alan,
Yes, sir.
apparently there's another department waiting for our decision.
They're not.
They're not?
Well, if the
Oh, yes,
bylaw's
well,
in
yes,
place.
No, they're not. Planning's not gonna tell him he can't go forward till we sign off on it. Planning's gonna tell him, this is a waste of your time. They're gonna say it's a waste of your time,
Okay,
or they're gonna say, no, you got a really good shot at getting this under the grandfather clause, go back and clear it up with conservation. In any case, they're back here at our next meeting or whenever that is, anyway. So there's nothing gained.
well, the only,
This is the guy who wanted to send the notice to the state and the government and everybody else. He wanted these poor people drawn and quartered.
well, yeah.
Now he's Mr. Fluffy over
I
here.
put the hammer down because I saw all the extreme violations that were on there. And, I mean, they stepped up and did what they had to do almost right away for
Yes,
us.
they did.
I mean, so,
But then we have a resident now who's saying that that may not all be the case, so.
well, wait a minute, let's think about this now, Al. You've brought up a subject that is not in our germane. It's not our part, that's not our issue. Our issue is wetlands only. Has
course it
nothing,
is.
wait a minute, it has nothing to do.
doing
If
it
he's
right.
still
Alan.
bringing material in, he's still within the 200-foot setback to the
I
riverfront.
understand that, but we
And he's
gave,
working.
we gave him specific instructions of what to do. They've accomplished that.
Did we tell him to
Whether the
continue?
neighbor is screaming
Did
about
we ask him to
something,
continue working in the 200-foot buffer zone?
is he?
We did not ask him to continue his business
I
with
am-
no permit in violation. We have not granted relief from the 200-foot setback to the
I
riverfront.
understand it. Are they still working within the 200 foot?
I can't answer that question. I brought Chris Mazelewski up here. He's the operator.
Well, his
I'll ask
wife-
him
his
to.
wife runs the
Or
business.
Ashley can come up. I asked Chris. only
Nancy,
because
could you come up here just
Ashley.
so to
Ashley.
help everything out here? She seems to be running.
I mean, I'm
the-
I want to get the answer, only because I committed to your abutter today that I would ask these questions tonight.
Absolutely not. We have done everything you have asked. We tried to do everything we can do. This neighbor has been harassing this property for years. And we just unfortunately inherited the harassment. We spoke to the previous owners who is relatives of the previous owners, and this has been an ongoing thing with this property. So it has nothing to do with us. It has technically nothing to do with what we're doing. This neighbor just profusely will never stop. So no matter what I do.
And he's not in the room tonight, so.
Of course he's not. And he's never come over to introduce himself. He has never once talked to us about anything. He doesn't even care to meet us. The neighbor that's directly in front of us, you know, we get along great. There has been no issues. So I just don't understand how a resident who's never met us is just so adamant to, and again, there's no proof. Show me the proof. I want pictures, I want videos, because this is a lie, and it's not fair.
That was the first words out of my mouth today is, you know,
It's not fair.
the light towers, and we're cutting wood on the weekends, and we're bringing in stumps, and I said, where's the pictures? You got a beautiful picture window in your backyard, where's the photos? He says, I don't have any, but I'll get some. Well, okay, well, I said, tonight's the hearing, he said, I won't be here. So, I did my due diligence, I asked the question.
I don't even own a light tower. You check the property, the telephone poles with the motion sensor lights that you guys saw is
Is what
all I
is
have.
there. Correct.
Which is illegally.
So, I mean, he can be a very charming individual, I'm sure. I'm sure he has a way with people, because he's very adamant, but unfortunately, he can tell you whatever he wants, but
Okay.
if we're, we clearly have done everything you've asked, and we are
You
trying
have.
hard to resolve this issue.
And we
but
are.
This guy will never go away.
This is why I like
Ever.
listening to them, because every time we've gone there, they've done what we've told them.
They have.
Yeah,
They have, and my only point is that if this is what is the fact, wonderful. If it's not what is the fact, and there's something additional happening, I
that
just
other
don't
guy
want to
should-
sign off on something
Whoever the
with
neighbor is, they should be
contingencies.
here to
That's
tell
all.
them that.
And you're
they're
right.
wrong.
If it was that big a deal,
Yeah.
the abutter should be here.
Not screaming in the background.
Right.
Saturday was when we moved everything. We worked till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then I went to work doing everything that you guys had asked me to.
Maybe that's
So I was out late Saturday, but that was to comply with your orders.
Maybe that's what he's referring to.
if I may, in terms of the activity, which it sounds like you were maybe burning the candle at both ends to, comply, and we appreciate that. It does, I'm not sure that those activities are necessarily inside our wheelhouse. And so,
The activity within the 200-foot riverfront is in our wheelhouse. What's that
location-wise, I
entire
was referring to the neighbor's complaint and so forth. The only question I had is down the road, just so that we're being more proactive than reactive for you, is in terms of future activities. I was wondering about future wood processing, and the distance from which that wood maybe comes from if you're planning on doing anything down the road. There is from the conservation end of things, there is a concern with species that you might be bringing in from far distances outside the county, from jobs far away where they might use your location as a depot. And I don't know if that's in the plans or in the works. Even though the activity is a zoning issue, once those species come onto your property, then it becomes a conservation issue. And I just thought I'd give you a heads up on that so that you didn't have to jump that hurdle too. So
We try not to travel too far. Maybe 45 minutes away is about as far as we'll work. Is it possible that you could introduce a species? Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
no,
How likely is it?
No, I know. In that industry, best practices is just to pretty much stay within your county or so. But
Just as a response,
Yeah.
we are responding to that specific concern in the order, in the notice of intent.
Okay.
I'm writing that section in that area of writing right now. So we are aware of the importation of wood and the issues that come along with that.
yeah, I just didn't want you set up for failure. That's all.
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, this could all be mute anyhow, so we know
Yeah.
that. This could all be mute, so let's, I'm more concerned about, let's take care of this order of conditions. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean the order of conditions.
The enforcement order.
The enforcement order. I've looked everything up here, so as far as I'm concerned,
At one point, Alan, going forward, since we are under the purview of the permitting department, anyone who has a complaint, there is an official form where they fill it out, they sign it, so that we have in front of us a signed document stating exactly what the problem is if the person is unable to appear.
He's actually come and spoken at a couple of meetings and so forth. I don't know if he's filled out a
Yeah, I don't think
complaint.
he has, but, I know down there, they will not answer any questions without the form being filled out and signed so that you have black and white. What's the issue? Let's address it. Let's find a resolution.
And I appreciate that, but I will always listen to a resident
exactly,
who has
but-
something to say.
well, you have, I agree with you, you have to listen
You
to the
have
rest.
to,
That's just me.
but that way, we don't worry about hearsay or, no, that's not what I said, or so on. There it is, black and white. We
Right.
deal with what's said and come up with a way to resolve the issue.
Right.
Okay.
It's up to you, Mr. Chairman. What do you
When-
want us to do here?
When we went on the site visit, we pretty much asked that they move everything outside of the 100-foot buffer. There were two sets of flags, as we saw. We asked them to move everything except for the few long logs that would be sort of burdensome to move until there had been a discussion.
I think you asked us to move it out of the 65.
No, I believe we asked, you had suggested 65. and we
No,
had
that was a discussion about what we were going to file for in the NOI.
right.
You got, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I wrote down 65. We got it not only out of the 65,
But you're out of 100.
because there was the discussion about that corner of the logs that was in the 65
Okay.
that we couldn't pull
Yes,
out.
you're right.
Okay, so,
You're
Came
correct.
in because why move them twice, three times?
Right,
Right,
right.
okay,
That was-
yes, you are correct. However, I think that we have to deal with the enforcement order as if town meeting never happened.
Right, exactly so.
It really, it's apples and oranges. It's irrelevant to what we have to rule on as a committee. I am of the opinion that they have done everything that has been asked of them.
Yeah.
They've done it quickly, they've done it well. We already have an assurance that we will have a notice of intent, and we're going to get a letter in writing.
you will have it in writing.
So I don't see any problem from my standpoint of lifting the enforcement order.
Contingent upon,
Contingent upon the NOI and the letter stating that the
well,
NOI
the
will be.
NOI and then eventuality of the logs coming out of the 65, that corner.
Yes.
That's part of the proposal in the NOI, yes.
NOI, yep.
It's
You
part
want
of
to
the-
put that in that, you want to put that in a letter?
If you want that in the letter, fine, but I mean, I'm trying to think of language that is more like a condition.
Yeah.
Okay? It is we can't be in the 65 without your permission, so our effort is to file the NOI to get your authorization, whatever that may be down the road, as opposed to what we ask. And I know we don't want to talk about the zoning. If the zoning comes into play and they can't do any of it anyway, then the timbers are coming out. They can't stay there anyway, so.
You technically can't be anywhere on that bog
Right.
without our permission.
Right,
You can't be within the 200 without our
Absolutely,
permission.
I
So
understand
we need
that.
something in this contingent letter that will
Well, that's what
reflect
the
that.
NOI is gonna do.
I understand that, but it isn't done yet.
Right, but it's gonna be contingent
I
on.
appreciate that, that's what I
I
want.
will,
in-
I will,
want
I
something
will
in the letter.
stipulate that if the NOI is not filed, all materials will be pulled out of the 200-foot riverfront area.
As well as that ramp.
All materials, including the ramp, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
Sir, I just want to make one, write this down and check it. CMR 310, Section 10.58,
Yep,
subsection D, number 1. Just go through that.
yep. I think I already have, but
You know what I'm saying?
a few times. I live in that section.
Torture, isn't it?
You
All
wanna
right,
check
so,
that out, 'cause I think you got something there.
I guess we need to have a motion to lift the enforcement order?
Yes. I'll second that.
No, we need a motion.
Wait a minute, we need a motion. I'll put the motion together for you. I propose a motion to lift the enforcement order on 17 Wareham Street. I need a second on that, please.
Second.
Second? All right, we have a motion and a second to lift the enforcement order for 17A. Is it A, or it's just 17?
Just 17.
Wareham Street.
Where's the,
With-
you're going to call it, you're going to just lift it? You don't want any contingencies? You want that as an amendment? Why? Just,
No, I want it, just lift it, because I know we're going to get the letter. from
yeah, I
you.
know you know, but I
That is
want
a
it in the
condition.
motion.
I would, to
That's-
protect the integrity of the vote, I agree with Alan.
Absolutely.
I
Add
think
that as a
that the
condition.
motion with the contingent that we get you the documentation.
Yeah.
And he just said it.
He's not,
You
he
want me
can't
to
make
say
a
it?
Make the
motion.
motion.
I make the motion that the
Come
enforcement
up here,
order
Williams.
on 17 Wareham Street be
Contingent.
removed, subject to a letter from the parties involved stipulating the discussion we had today.
Stipulating what?
The discussion we had today and a notice of intent.
And a notice of intent.
That would be certifying that we will file a notice of intent before May 31st.
Contingent on.
I understand.
You got enough of the discussion of today, Susan, down there? I hate this ambiguity. I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and
This
seconded
one.
to lift the enforcement order contingent upon a letter which also says that a notice of intent will be forthcoming. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Aye.
All right, approved unanimously, 401.
Thank you very much, and we will see you soon.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, that only
you.
took,
Go kiss and make up with the neighbor, will you?
I know.
Invite him over for a hot dog and a beer or something.
Bring him some cookies.
Yep.
All right,
Not
next.
laced either.
We have
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I can't let him make it.
we have a new hearing.
Should we do the new hearing? What else we have to?
Well, we have a lot of other things to do here, including
Yeah.
Edaville and a fence,
Yeah.
and we've got people here.
Well, best practices on coal property, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see us postpone. Let's deal with the people in the.
All right.
We could do the
Scouts,
They're
amended.
kind enough to
amendment.
wait, yeah,
And
exactly.
Mr. Chris with the fence.
All right, why don't we move to the next item on the agenda then?
Peg's Pond,
The,
that's informal.
The
There's no-
informal discussion of the maintenance of Peg's Pond at South Meadow Village?
Peg's Pond.
Oh, no.
Where's Peg's Pond?
Hi, I'm Bob Meenan, and reside at 59-9 South Meadow Village.
And I'm Mary Patton, and I reside at 59-7 South Meadowville.
And you can sign in too
Mary?
on the sheet.
I'm sorry, was it Mary?
It's Merry, like Merry Christmas.
First of all, I'd like to thank the board for inviting us here this evening. Second, I'd like to thank the boards, plurally, for what they've done for us in the past concerning Peg's Pond. For those that may not be familiar with it, it's a man-made pond. It's partially, why don't I read this? It becomes a lot easier, and it's a brief statement that was written when I was retiring out of taking care of the pond. History: Peg's Pond was created in the 1980s to move sand and gravel to raise and stabilize the future clusters of 59 and 56. The remaining hole created a pond with a 1,300-foot perimeter, with sloping banks and a roadway. The depth of the pond was approximately 20 feet in the center, gradually rising to 3 feet in the banks. At this time, a group of 5 residents with an interest in bocce began to use the road as a bocce court. This group of 5, headed by the late Charles Pagnini, formerly of Cluster 59, created the Bocce Court and Grove area. They also realized that to get proper mosquito spraying and roadway around the pond had to be maintained. Shortly after the pond was designated as a fire pumper replenishment pond by the Carver Fire Department. Since its creation, the pond is maintained by the original group of 5. When I bought a home in Cluster 59 in 1997, I was recruited by Charles Pagnini to join the group. With the death of Charlie, the original group of 5 have all passed away, leaving only myself to maintain the pond. Physically, I can't do it. In my hand, which I will leave with one of you, is the actual schedule for maintaining the pond. Over the years, and this started in 97, 98, it went from 5 guys actually going in the water with rakes, pulling the weeds out, cutting the grass all the way around where we could get it to grow, maintaining the tree growth around the pond so that the vehicles such as a pumper could go in there. And also it became a very popular walking space with the seniors. It also, and the last time I explained this to the pond, because I was asked the question directly, when I told them that it became a great fishing spot, they said, "There's fish in a man-made pond?" That's the only answer I could come up with, miracle fixation. I have no idea. But it is healthy. It's a healthy pond. It still is healthy. Unfortunately, what brought all this to the attention was when I wrote this to our board, saying that, it's time that our maintenance crew stepped in and took care of it. There were a lot of reasons why we couldn't do it. And the biggest one seemed to come up, geez, the EPA, they'll sue us, we can't go near the ponds. I said, you've been working under approvals by the conservation boards. So I'm here for one reason, to renew the approvals. But I stopped, and I haven't gone all the way what took place. As those years went along, the ability to drag weeds out of the pond, which has no egress and no entrance, no way out. We couldn't give up with it. So we researched out and looked at the choices that the state told us was, you had machinery, you had chemical, you had this, you had that. And we wound up, for a number of years, putting 2 different things in the water. One was something that would eat specific weeds, not all vegetation. And second, a bottom feeding growth that was in all water, just proportionately to speed up the eating of the bottom growth so it wouldn't go to that black dump. Highly successful. At the same time, as this board knows, we put our wells, and we made a water system. So we are now, by Whitewater, checked monthly, and I've been told even weekly, every drop of water is tested. They have never found a chemical in our water. So all I'm here for is to ask this board to renew the agreements we had before. That is to say, if we've done everything possible, to come down if it's necessary to do a walk, I will be glad to take you around, although I will admit, when I go around the pond, now I use a tractor because I don't walk through it anymore. But
Do you have a copy of the original agreement?
I don't. It was never necessary. By the way, most of this was done under Dr. Hewens. And I'm
Oh,
sure she will come
was-
forward and say,
Yeah.
that was all
Yeah,
approved.
that
The
was-
boards came down and walked it.
Do you remember that?
The only
Remember that?
time,
It
matter
does
of
not,
fact, the
no,
only
but
time
if it was done
became-
right, Sarah would have done it right. Sarah
The
was
only
very,
time
It
it
wouldn't have
became
expired.
officially a problem, we discovered something by accident. One day we were out there working out there, and I said, I could have sworn that 3 years ago, this little bush had 3 feet of land between that and the water, and suddenly it was right there. And that's when we discovered those little teeny waves coming from that direction. Our sand is so fine, it was washing it back in. They had built the tower for the water. We asked permission of this board to take some of the boulders from that we dug and move it around that corner so it wouldn't wash back in. And that's the only time we've changed anything in the peripheral of the pond. Other than that, all we're doing is maintaining it as it was.
Are you
I didn't
saying
realize there was an old-
you agree with this?
Well, I didn't
Why not?
realize there was an old agreement. I mean, I don't know where it would be. We'd have to look through the old files and see if there's something in writing.
do you remember approximately the date when you came before and you spoke with Sarah about this?
Probably 2011, because this book has her name written, I wrote it on there. But there were many, many times, because I can remember the boys coming down and not walking it.
Did you
I'd invite you down
file?
now.
Did you file for a permit to do that? A notice of intent or anything?
Well, when I really got involved with the board, I come in, this was the company, Aquasite Company.
Yeah.
And I presented them, I brought every book I could find and said, please give it to the board and tell me if we're doing anything wrong. And it came back and it was nothing.
Could we possibly continue this until the next meeting? Give us an opportunity to talk with Sarah and
Oh, absolutely.
See if
maybe
I can
research
find-
through the
Yes.
minutes and...
This is not.
Because if in fact all of this is factual and I have no reason to doubt you,
Right. Matter of fact,
I don't see where it's a big
I'd like
deal.
to get some specifics. on
Yeah,
that.
and maybe even do a little
It's
site visit if
it's more
somebody
out of
wants to go have a
fear.
peek at it.
that something has
Still
changed
would have had them file
at a
back
federal
then
level
and
or
have
something of that nature. And
I don't know if it would have been, I don't know if it would have been an NOI or
Well,
maybe
they're
just
not,
a.
yeah.
How does Peg's Pond maintain its water level?
natural, it will go up and go down with the pumping of the
Groundwater
bogs.
Yeah, most likely.
But it's ground. I just don't know how else to explain it.
It's springs.
I'm
Okay.
not a
Well,
specialist.
why don't we,
So it's a reservoir for bog use?
No, it was a
Well, if it go-
straight level land, and it's right next to a swamp.
It's a man-made,
It's man-made.
but wasn't made for the bogs? It was
No,
just man-made
man-made
for your
so they
village or
could
something?
build 2 more clusters of
Oh,
houses.
They
okay, so
excavated and the
So they
water
dug a
just filled
hole.
it in.
that's
so it's a
it.
man-made pond for
That's where my
development.
pond came from,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
my
yeah.
septic
But if
system.
the
we should
level
check our
fluctuates
When
with
did
the
they do
bogs, it's
that?
being used for
When did they
irrigation.
do that?
Yeah, it could be.
Unless it's just groundwater.
32
that goes
years
up and
ago.
Could be
I
groundwater.
put it this way,
It's grandfathered
I've been here 22 years, and I'm living in one of the houses in cluster 59 that they built.
So they went.
I think we should do it, if you want to do
When
a
the
site
cycles
visit
were-
and do a little research, talk to Sarah and see where we're at with this.
Yes, I would
By
like
the
to do
way,
that.
If you haven't guessed by now, the name Hagg's Pond is named after the gentleman that started all this and maintained it.
Okay,
That explains everything we've done.
okay.
And there is nothing but maintenance, no changes.
Yeah,
And it's
that
been
makes
going on
sense.
forever. I mean, I don't see a big deal with it, but, you know, we can certainly put this all together and try to come to a conclusion with it.
Yeah, I definitely,
All right.
just double check with Sarah.
Listen, you're Mr. Fluffy
If-
tonight, so.
I'm sorry, I didn't write it down there, but if you want to write down my telephone
There's a
number.
word for
If
that.
any of you want to come down and
That's
visit
what
the
happens when you
site.
go to Hatteras.
Yeah, we would want to come
All
down. We'd want to go take a look at it.
Yep.
Yeah, my number is 508-866-5787.
Okay, yeah. 5787, okay.
Brooke would like to do it after 10 o'clock because she likes you to have cocktails.
I will serve you coffee,
Oh,
how's
my
that?
God.
No, not coffee, she wants
He
cocktails.
says that at every meeting.
I was gonna say Jameson's, or
I will,
I'm the alcoholic agent.
Hey, Pat,
I will entertain a motion to
I make that motion.
continue this. We've got a motion to continue.
Motion
We have
to
a second?
continue.
okay.
Should we continue to, you want
have
to
a second?
continue to the 15th and see if I can find anything before then, or try to do a site visit before then? You'd want to
Do
just...
we want
Couple
to,
weeks.
Your next meeting is
I'd like to
what?
go take a peek at it.
Next will be the 15th. I might
are
take a
they
while
going to
find-
be ready?
Would you like to have us look at it on the
Are the previous people
15th?
going to be ready
No,
on the
No.
15th?
no. But we have a filing on the 15th, though.
We do have a filing, all right,
So we're here anyway.
all right.
Would the 15th be all right for you guys?
What was that?
The
May 15th.
Yes.
2 weeks?
And then maybe we'll come take a look at it before that, and
Oh,
then see if we can find out some
absolutely.
old
Yeah.
information,
Right.
stuff like that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded
And I look
to
forward to seeing you at the site.
continue this hearing, or this discussion until our next meeting on Wednesday, May 15th. All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Any
you very
opposed?
much.
Thank you. We'll
Same.
be down to see you.
401. Thank you.
Excellent.
See if you can get a hold of Sarah.
All right,
I think might be able to help.
because we have other people waiting, I think what we'll do is we'll put the discussion of best practices on coal property later in our meeting.
Good idea.
And get to people who are here.
Yep.
The next order of business is Mr. Christ to discuss details of the fence at 91A Plymouth Street. Welcome back.
How are you?
Good? Great.
Is this that house right beside,
At
Hmm?
7 o'clock.
is this that house right beside?
This, the one with the
This was the one, thank you, sir.
dog, to keep the dog in.
Put the fence down for the, where's dog?
Blake,
And then we went
With
down
the-
with It's the.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
The wetland. off
So
of
again,
Bocce
Oh,
Court.
yeah, I remember this.
We just
again,
want
for the
more
record,
detail.
my name's Blake Christ, 91A Plymouth Street.
Oh, yeah.
I'm requesting permission to put a 2 or 3 split rail post and, split rail, so it's just a post, and you guys know what a split rail is. There's a picture of it there on like the second page. And down through the 100-foot buffer to the edge of the water line with your approval with the mesh wire behind it. There's also a picture of that. It tells the dimensions. Last time we did the discussion, you guys told me exactly what you were looking for. You wanted dimensions of height, distance. I rolled it out with my roller. Granted, there's some stumps and trees down in the way, so it was roughly about 180, maybe 190, but I don't walk that fast, so it's more like 180. My guesstimate, because I don't have a flag that shows me exactly where the 100-foot buffer line is exactly at, my guesstimate is that it's about 80 feet into the buffer zone there, is how much the fence would actually be in the buffer zone. I figured that was something pertinent that you guys would like to know, but that's me just using a scale from where the house was approved and taking a guess.
I'm good with
On Plymouth Street, what he's doing, this is guy was here last time. He wants to install.
We had a plan.
And again,
on this, though.
I'm not trying to put
the plan
concrete in
last
there or
time.
anything like that, just
But he wants
use a
to do-
post holder.
Savory might have it.
Oh, Peg,
Yes,
just
dear.
to let you know, this is the isolated wetland off of Godfrey Circle.
Yeah.
Same wetland that was the issue on the latest lot on Godfrey Circle. So he's on the Plymouth Street side of that same
Oh, on the other
isolated
side,
wetland.
where the
Yeah,
new
I'm-
house is going in, correct?
Well, no, not him.
not there.
Mr.
Right
Chris
at
is
the
on
corner
Plymouth
of
Street
Plymouth
side.
Street and,
I
Do you
thought
have a
she
plan?
did.
I know, I haven't got it.
What's that
Do you
circle?
have that plan that you had with you last time?
I have it in the truck.
He's right on
I can run down and grab it. I didn't bring it in.
It's housing, existing houses there.
Trying to picture where it is, across from Godfrey.
No, it's on Godfrey and Plymouth. If you take,
He's not looking for a variance, right? He just needs the approval to put the fence
He
up.
just needs us to say it's okay.
Why don't
He
we
just
just let
needed a
this
letter of
get
okay.
what he
going?
wants to do is he
Yeah, you had asked for something in writing so that,
Right.
wants to
So that we
run the
can say
fence.
okay.
exactly.
Can I make a motion,
Property
Mr.
line,
Chairman?
because he's having some issues.
Last time you actually gave me like the okay to go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to
long
make
as
a
I brought
motion,
you
we
in.
give him the okey-dokey on the fence on 91A Plymouth Street. The okey-dokey. He gets the official okey-dokey.
Artichoke.
There's a motion to give him the okey dokey. Do I have a second?
Oh, geez, yeah, why don't we just start, put that
Mr.
down?
Wood?
O-K-I-D-O-K-I.
No, just-
You're doing good tonight.
Do we have a second?
Not on the okey dokey.
Do we have a second on
Yes,
on
we
giving
do
him
have a
permission? All right, discussion.
I'm good with this.
Anybody
I think
have
you did a
any-
great job. Thank you.
To add to this?
It's only a fence.
No? All right. Is anyone out in the audience? No? Okay.
Anything against the okey dokey?
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to allow the installation of a 180-foot fence, 80 feet of which would be in the 100-foot buffer zone as indicated on the
Indicated.
letter and on the plan that we saw at our previous meeting for 91A Plymouth Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
No? Okay. I approve. It's 4 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention.
Do you want me to send you want me to just send you a letter? Should I just send him a letter and say that we voted okey dokey?
Yeah, I think so.
I would really like that, just to have a copy of it, you know?
Get it
That way,
matted-
if I
get it
ever
matted
sell the
and framed.
property and the
Right,
fence
right.
is still there, somebody
Just
can
say
have
that
it.
the
Yeah.
installation of the fence was allowed, you know.
Correct,
This
right.
is the,
I
this
think
is
that's
the
the best thing.
conditions. Just put these in the conditions,
Oh,
that
good,
this
okay.
is how he's
Yep.
gonna do it, so.
Okay.
I appreciate you guys' time and want to say thank you for
Thank you.
helping me learn a little
Yeah.
bit. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Have a good one.
Not everybody gets the okey dokey, though, so you know.
Very true.
You get the special okey dokey, yeah?
Thank you, nice
All right,
presentation.
enough of the okey dokey.
All right.
Next.
Next up is the request for amended order of conditions, Edaville Land Holdings, DEP SE 126-559.
You only get one okey dokey a night, though, Art, so I'm not sure if there's gonna be a second.
We won't never give
How are you,
John Dowling
John?
the okey dokey. I don't even know if you need a plan for this. All it is to, well, anyway.
I think we already did this. This is where I'm confused. Didn't
No.
we
Well,
do
you
this?
did it,
Well-
you did it, but we didn't have it.
Informally.
We took 'em away.
You did it
At a
informal.
discussion, I
This
thought
is just to
so.
formalize the
We-
correction.
so-
Remember?
So the order needs to be recorded
Has it been
again as an
changed at all
amended order,
since the
because
last
now it's
time?
amended to get back the
Well,
space.
Since our
Right.
informal
No, the only
discussion,
difference is,
Right.
well, what you're doing is you're voting, you agreed informally that I could pave this,
Right.
but it's not, there wasn't,
Wasn't in the order.
it wasn't in the order, the original order.
The original order said they
This
get rid of them.
amendment reflects that we can do that.
Right.
That's it.
So that's it. So you just need to sign an amended order conditions that gets recorded and.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This was the, when you were gonna do the solar, that was, we took that away
Right.
because of the setback.
That's
When
right.
the solar project went away, there was no reason to keep
That's
the
correct.
the parking spaces away, so.
That's correct.
That was the evening you came with the informal discussion, and
Yep.
we said, yeah, you should have your
I have
parking
minutes.
spaces back. So this is the
In order
actual,
to get that formalized, Alan, I had to come back.
I'm okay with it.
There's a minute, I have the old minutes that
It's
said.
just very straightforward. It's, couldn't be any simpler.
Anybody else?
you live down there somewhere, don't you?
Across the street.
And you're okay with it?
I have no
I'm
problem.
okay
We
with
took it away, and I don't have a problem giving it back.
All right,
He already had it to start with, so
This car's parked there now.
let's go.
I wish.
Peace, man.
I'll
I do want to
entertain,
divulge that I am in a butter, and with the chair's permission, I can vote without prejudice on this if you so desire.
I have no issue with you being in a butter and
No.
able to vote on this. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended order of conditions for Edaville Land Holdings, DEP SE 126-559.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say
Aye.
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 Any opposed? 401.
Two
I got an
abstentions.
This is pre-me, so.
It'd be
Oh,
3-0.
302, then. Two
Yes, I'm
abstentions.
sorry.
That was easy.
Geez, that could have been an okey dokey.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, you will.
Autographs.
Thank you.
You don't want this now? You want to give him this thing now? No?
Oh, you can't.
We signing
Oh, no,
this?
no, I get to record
Okay.
it. You want this?
All
Okay.
right.
I don't think you
Yeah.
can sign it.
So, no.
Our-
You can't sign it.
You have to,
Abstain.
sign it.
I got nothing against it, I just.
I made the check out wrong. It's to the wrong people. It doesn't say Alan.
You don't get that shit.
Don't trust that.
All right, next up is a COC request for 64 Wenham Road.
So all you do is you check that box.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Good?
How
Could
are you?
Fine, thanks. Could you sign in, please?
Okay.
Sure will.
Are you the new homeowner?
I am not.
Nope, she's the real
My
estate.
name is Sherry Sibley, and I am the real estate agent who is selling 64 Wenham Road.
It's a nice piece of property.
Yeah.
Beautiful house.
We met him out there today.
Yes. He said he's
You
homeless.
did?
in the
He said
Yeah,
he's
you met
homeless.
Brian?
He came out,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Oh, great.
I have to abstain.
I think he
What
said
do
he
you
was
want?
sleeping underneath the,
He's
his car
sleeping.
tonight because he's homeless.
Yes, he's sleeping on the hardwood floor. Contact, what do you want from me as far as like the
Oh,
address?
just give me your phone number's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
All right. We did go out today and look and see what had been done, and I think for the most part, we were pretty happy with the quickness in the plantings that had been done, and the number of plantings that have been done. There are quite a few. I think there was a little bit of concern that perhaps there should be a handful more plantings on the property line side of that cleared area. But that was, it's not going to, that would not be a condition.
Okay.
It would be, as far as I am concerned, a suggestion. All right? I don't think it affects the order of conditions. And I'll let others speak first before I'll give my reasons why. I guess we have to move and second it before we can discuss it, correct?
I make a motion that we approve the COC request 64 Wenham Road, DEP SE 126484.
I'll take a second.
I think the planting should be completed.
Well,
You need to discuss it, so
Or contingent upon the
All right.
plantings.
All right,
we got to open it in order
Okay.
to discuss it.
Okay.
So you do
All right.
second it?
So, yeah, it's been moved in second. So discussion.
Can I?
You go right ahead.
I also saw it. I think you did a fabulous job out back there. I think you put back 40 blueberry plants. I'm not in favor of any additional plantings. I say you leave that side alone. Everybody's jumped through hoops for this, and if you don't ever walk down there again, in 6 months, it's going to be overgrown with briars and everything else that's already coming up through the ground. So it's not like you need to add stuff because it's been strip cleared. It hasn't, the roots haven't been disturbed at all, Tim. Everything has been cut. So I'm absolutely against, and I will vote no if that's going to be a contingency. I don't think it needs to be done. I think they've shown excellent good faith. I think 40 blueberry plants is a wonderful start. It's a nice piece of property. They certainly want to have a little bit of a view of the pond.
Okay.
And I saw new growth coming in today, and I don't have a problem with exactly what it looks like. So that's my 2 cents worth.
I think they should put some plantings in. I think
Okay.
erosion on that side can be an issue.
There is no erosion on their property
Not on their
Their
whatsoever.
property yet.
None.
no.
No.
And I don't think there ever will be.
It's not theirs, it's the butter.
That's
I
right.
understand that, but I'm just
Okay.
saying, just a few little things along that edge. It defines, he's got his big open area.
I'm just
for that
against
on that.
I'm against the digging for the few little more things. I just think it's too
I
much.
think it stabilizes the slope there.
I
It's a
don't.
little bit
I
of
don't
a
think it's
slope, it's a
necessary.
little bit of stabilization,
Yeah.
and then Mother Nature can take it from there.
And the question that we did have was exactly where is the property line, because we don't want, to make him plant bushes that aren't on his property,
Oh,
or vice
absolutely.
versa.
But on
And
the
we are
property
gonna
line
take care of the
because we know
abutting
where it is.
property, the
Exactly.
erosion,
Just,
Mr.
maybe
Yeah.
six
That's
more
not his
bushes.
issue at all.
and-
It's not gonna hold this up.
Okay.
Yeah, just a
Let the
few more.
abutter do it. This
Well,
guy's jumped through enough
They
hoops.
could, we could have the abutter do the extra plantings.
I can't, there'd be absolutely no erosion on the high side of that hill.
But Al, you gotta remember what was taken out of there, okay? That's what I-
Can I just say one thing, Mr. Dempsey, about that? And I don't want to get emotional, but Colleen's a good friend of mine, and I don't know if you're aware, she lost Dana at the age of 32 to a heart attack. She was unaware of this. He obviously knew, but she was unaware. So when we went to close, or when the attorneys filed the paperwork or did the municipal lien and saw the order of conditions on the property, she was unaware of that. So hence why I jumped through the hoops. I drove personally down to pick up all of the plants and then had somebody come and plant them specifically for this. And Brooke met me out there prior to, along with, and I apologize, I forgot his
Jim.
name, Jim. And I asked him specifically what conservation would want done. And he showed me the area and told me he wanted them planted within every 3 feet, and that's what I did. And I literally taped it off, measured it out, and went down and bought the 40 blueberry bushes. So my hope is, and then on top of that, I know the erosion area that you're talking about, Peg, that actually belongs to the hard use.
I'm well aware of
Okay.
that, and I know that that's another issue to be addressed. That's
Right, a
apples and
separate,
oranges, we're
completely
not going
separate.
there.
Right, right.
I'm just saying, for his own protection, it would not hurt just to have a few more in there to stabilize. I was on the board before the house was built, so I know what it used to look like.
Mm-hmm.
The reason there was an outstanding order to have the things replaced is because it was dramatically, that landscape was dramatically changed, and we received written complaints from neighbors that something be done about it, and you've done a wonderful job. I have no complaints. The
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and-
owner seems like a lovely person. We
He
wanna
is,
get him-
yeah, the new owner
Get
is.
him in there ASAP.
Yeah.
This was something nobody intentionally did.
Right,
I
right.
understand that. And if they don't want to do it, fine, but I would just say for their own protection, just a few on the other side.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Peg. I can't. I just asked Brooke, is this what Jim wanted done when he went out to that site? Is this exactly what has been
Jim never
done?
mentioned doing
And
the
she
other side?
said,
Oh.
she said,
I was not with Jim.
Brooke just said that that's exactly what Jim asked for. These people jumped through hoops to give the chairman of
In
the
that case,
committee
we'll go with
exactly
what
what
Jim
they
told you. I
had.
didn't
I
realize
think
that
3 more
that's
plants is
exactly-
ridiculous.
Thank you. Yeah, he specifically showed me exactly where to
That's
put
what he wants.
everything,
He's
yeah.
the chair.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
He's the chair.
Any other discussion?
Just let them know, I live on that pond.
Yeah.
I canoe by it all the time.
And he's not
Brian-
the one that made the complaint either.
So if you see
I
a
didn't
dog
make
in a
any
canoe,
complaint.
you
He
know
didn't
it's
make
this
the
guy.
Brian's a great guy.
I've only been there for 3 years, so I didn't make the
He did not
complaint.
make the
Okay.
complaint.
So the new owners, I mean, he's in there under temporary use and occupancy right now.
He's actually homeless. He sold his own house
Yeah.
today. He's got no place to live, and this has been,
We
this has
got
been,
room on the street.
this has been held off in him trying to pass papers, so this is
Lovely man.
You
important.
live right around the corner.
And he's very
I
compliant,
have a
Tim.
shed he can rent.
And he had a great attitude today when we saw him. I mean,
Very
it was,
nice
he
gentleman.
explained everything to us, and
And you
this
do
is
have-
why I want to see this get done.
And you do have to think, I mean, he didn't do the violation.
No,
He
no,
had nothing to
no,
do with
there's
it.
nothing
This
wrong.
guy is the victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
And
He-
actually, so isn't your client.
Right, and so am I, frankly, in all of that. It just sort of
You know, and
all
everybody's jumped through
snowballed.
hoops at the behest of the chairman, and I think, not you, the chairman, and the real chairman, and,
Real chairman.
Real
Oh, that's
chairman.
bad.
Okey dokey.
Bazinga.
He's the fake
and
chairman.
I just think, I go nuts over fair.
Now, I'm
And I
gonna,
think
I'm
that-
gonna
that-
vote for you
that's
here.
fair.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I want to make something perfectly clear, because somebody said, well, he wasn't here when that happened. It doesn't matter whether he was here when that happened or not. The violation is the violation.
Yeah, but I
Right,
appreciate
right.
that.
So,
There's-
as far as we're concerned, the violation has been rectified
Right.
after we vote and say it has been rectified.
Okay.
Okay, so the chair
Now he's
could
the
make a recommendation, please, or somebody make a recommendation?
Well, there is a motion.
Al?
Well, there's a motion and there's a motion and a
We have a
second.
motion.
We do, we have a motion and a second.
Finish the
I just want to say, and it's not going to affect my vote, I still would suggest that he do some kind of plantings as close to his property line as possible for a number of reasons. Number one, on the side next to the erosion.
Okay.
Number one, it's going to block the view of the pump house a little bit and probably a little bit of the noise. Number two, as Brooke mentioned before, there were complaints, or as Peg mentioned, there were complaints from people, obviously, who had been on the lake and saw it. If there is another row of plantings that's on his property line, that is going to kind of delineate what he's responsible for and not. So that could help.
Yeah, I think, I agree with you. I think there's some confusion
Right.
from other owners around the lake that
Yes,
don't
right.
understand that that's not part of his property.
Exactly.
So, and frankly, I do think, and I can't make you any guarantees, obviously, I'm not Brian, but the new owner, but I think his intent was to eventually block that pump house to some degree, so. I mean-
I'm not asking for a promise, it's
Yeah.
just,
A suggestion, yeah,
just a
yeah.
suggestion.
And I think it's something that he has considered.
Okay,
so.
that's fine.
That's plantings. That doesn't mean he's going to put up a 6-foot fence down that area.
He didn't say that, so.
I'm just saying, you got to tell him.
You'd have to ask him.
I'll make sure, yeah, I'll tell him. No, I don't, that
If he
was,
files an NOI, we can work with it.
okay.
Any further discussion? No, hearing none. All right. It's been moved and seconded to approve the COC request, 464 Wenham Road. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, 401.
Thank you.
Passes 401.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Brooke.
So I'll record that for you and send you a copy and stuff. So you can just let them know when, at the purchase and sale, that we'll be recording it, so I think that'll be fine.
Okay.
As long as they know it got issued tonight.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I got it issued tonight, and then you'll record it
Yep.
tomorrow sometime? Okay,
Yep.
great. I'll let them know.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All righty.
Thank you all.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Tell him to enjoy his house. He can move in now.
All right,
He doesn't have a certificate.
new hearing. We will get to the minutes after we hear this new hearing.
Now what do we got?
We have the new
No
hearing.
hearing.
Oh,
Sorry
that's
about that.
right, new NOI.
We don't put times on
You
it.
said, oh, there's only a couple discussions.
I love these.
You guys are looking for an okey-dokey too tonight now?
Absolutely. All right,
Guys are in the okey-dokey mood.
I am in an okey-dokey mood.
notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:15 on Wednesday, May 1st, 2019, in Meeting Room 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the notice of intent submitted by RPBP LLC for the proposed construction of a commercial subdivision, including roadway and associated stormwater management system and utilities to support the future development of 6 lots. The proposed stormwater management system is located within the 100-foot buffer zone to Ricketts Pond, resource area bank, land under a water body / waterway, and bordering vegetated wetland, protected under the regulations / bylaw. The project is located off Spring Street, Carver, MA, map 32, lots 1, 3, 5E, 5-AN, 6-A, 6-CN, 6-DN, and 6-EN, Carver, Massachusetts, and 1 parcel in Plimpton, Massachusetts, map 19, lot 2-4. All interested parties are invited to attend. Gentlemen,
Just making a noise for a second. Hold on.
There we are, that's what I wanted to see.
Okay, it's all yours.
Thanks, guys.
We looked at it today.
It looks good.
It looks good.
Yes, they're doing a good job.
just have something to reference in case something comes in.
The old silt sock and everything else.
And he's working well within the 60.
We'll head in the same direction today. It's not upside down.
It's working on the hill.
Yeah.
Hill drops off dramatically.
All right, gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Great. My name is Brad McKenzie, McKenzie Engineering Group. With me here is Peter Opachinski from RPBP LLC.
I always get that mixed up.
Yeah.
Gets them every time.
You gotta get another name.
For this 6-lot subdivision located off Spring Street. We were before you last summer, I think in July of 2018, you issued a ORAD for the approval of the wetland resources on and adjacent to the site, the BVW extending from Ricketts Pond.
Where's the pond?
And at the time, we had a site walk, and I know you had a site walk today as well. And as you are aware, the site was owned by MassDOT for many, many years, and last year, Mr. Opachinski's group purchased the land. All of the lots that you mentioned, several lots have actually been combined legally by an 81X plan to be one lot, as when the property was conveyed from MassDOT to RBBP. And there's 20 acres in Carver and about 23 acres in Plimpton. The parcel is located within the Spring Street Innovation District, and it was approved by the planning board. A definitive plan was approved by the planning board last week. As you read into the record, the project is located within a 100-foot buffer zone to wetland resources jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act and your local bylaw, BVW, and land underwater associated for Ricketts Pond. The topo that we show on this plan obviously has changed, The project, or the site, was issued a earth removal permit last year, so it's being mined at this point. The topography that we're showing on this plan might be, 20, 30 feet off at this point in some locations. But it was undulating, it's still undulating. An extensive amount of earthwork is required to build the road at a grade that meets the planning board rules and regulations, extending from Spring Street. The road's about 1,200 feet long. And really, the only portion of this project that falls within the 100-foot buffer zone is the stormwater basin here, which accepts runoff from almost all of the roadway. And as I mentioned, there are 6 lots that will be developed by phases, and the lots on the, east side of the road, most of the activity falls within your jurisdiction. It's within 100 feet of the BVW extending from Ricketts Pond, and we'll be back in on a lot-by-lot basis when the individual the site plan review are filed with the planning board. So we're coming back. What you see are kind of placeholders on these lots. You see, right now it's proposed as kind of a flex space in warehouses, but we had to make some assumptions regarding the lot development, with grading,
So it's going down.
limit of impervious surface, so that we could design drainage facilities that would accommodate that development. So this is probably an exaggeration regarding what the impervious coverage will be. And when we come back in on a lot-by-lot basis, if the impervious coverage is larger than what we assumed for these lots, there'll be an adjustment on that lot to cover the delta over what we assumed on the definitive plan. So really, what we're asking for is an approval that the commission issue an order conditions for the roadway, the infrastructure within the roadway, utilities work. We're putting in a dry water main system as is required by the town, with hydrants, underground electric data conduits, and of course the stormwater management system that conveys flows from the road down to the stormwater management, down to the infiltration basin. All of those BMPs have been designed to fully comply with the DEP stormwater management regulations. The plans were reviewed and the drainage was reviewed by the planning board's consultant, Fuss and O'Neill. And as you know, you've been out there, the soil is extremely permeable and conducive to infiltration. So as such, this project was designed, these 2 basins were designed to fully infiltrate and retain a 100-year storm on site. So there's no overflow connection proposed under this plan to the town's closed drainage system on Spring Street. I guess each lot will have its own private well and individual Title V systems. So we'll be filing, once we have definitive site plan engineered, we'll perk the lots with the Board of Health and file septic design plans.
And we don't have a DEP number on this yet, right?
We don't.
Yeah, we checked with DEP today, but no.
They don't have it?
I got a call.
You did?
Yes,
Oh,
I
we have a
did.
number?
Well, I got a call, not with a number, but they have a slight issue with the filing fee.
What's the issue?
They think it should be a Category 3 instead of a Category 2.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I looked at it, and there is a Category 3 for
Is it roadway?
stormwater things, I think roadways, for commercial properties. I know it, I missed that too. I'm not sure which category you use for under the 2, and it's not a big deal. All you would have to do would be submit a revise, like transmittal.
Who did you talk to?
Masoon? I can't remember her last name.
The amount of impervious.
Well, I'm not sure that I agree. Is it she?
Mm-hmm.
She might think that we're permitting buildings
Nope.
under this, no?
Nope, she said for the roadway and the stormwater. There is a category 3 for stormwater, basins, and I think it is roadways, but, you know, commercial.
I don't see that. I'm looking right at it. I see category 3, site preparation for development beyond NOI scope, each building, of course.
Yeah.
Road construction not crossing or driveway. We don't have any road within 100 feet. Hazardous cleanup and water supply development. So we picked category 2 because of the, we picked any other activity not in 1, 3, 4, because it's the stormwater basin. So I don't,
So maybe she didn't realize the roadway was outside the 100
yeah,
foot?
then maybe she didn't. So maybe it's,
I do have her phone number, yeah. I could, yeah, you want to
I
call?
can call her.
All right. Listen, it's Maisson. She's in the, you know, southeast region.
Maisson.
Oun. And it's
OUN.
like Rita, maybe is her last name?
All right, I'll call her.
I could find out her number if I.
But you got her phone number, right, you said?
Yeah, yeah.
508-946 something.
Yeah, if you just call the DEP office, 946-2700.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then ask for her,
I'll call her in the morning.
Rita or something, yeah.
Okay. I mean, if there's an issue, if,
But other than that, she wasn't really even gonna write it as a comment, she just thought she'd just mention it to me. But the file number should be coming.
Sorry, I asked.
I know, yeah, it's your fault.
Sir, may I ask you to check into CMR 310, Section 10.02, Statement of Jurisdiction, Section 2, subsection G. Add that to your, just take a look at it.
What does that state?
What is that?
What is it for?
Has to do with impervious surfaces within the buffer or within 100 feet of the buffer.
Within the 100?
Just check into it.
we're not proposing any impervious surface within 100 feet of the buffer.
Well, the buffer's here, and I'm looking at,
You're probably looking at the building on the Form A lot, right?
it's still building.
But we're not here for
building.
that.
No, they're going to file for
They're not
each
here
one of
for
these
that.
individually when it comes up.
But
They're
it's-
on the plans.
It's
but
on the
this-
drawing.
It's
Yeah,
on the
but it has
drawing.
nothing to do with, it's not germane to tonight's hearing. Tonight's hearing is about the ditch
stormwater.
Just
and the road.
Because each one of these is going to be.
It's nothing to do with where your right hand is.
Let me rephrase. In the future, could you please look at that?
I will.
Thank you. Gee, Sal.
I'm sure he will.
They made a point of saying that this was just very, very preliminary, that they had to put something on the plan.
Okay, so we don't have, still don't have one.
All right,
This is all they've done. So, and until they clear it, they don't know exactly what.
all right, before we discuss, we should have a
This is gonna
motion,
be- When these come in, they can individually.
but we
Yeah, but we still
we
need
need
to open it.
to have a motion and a second before we have discussion.
Before I make that motion, I'm gonna make a statement.
Go right ahead.
What you see, you're correct.
I want this body to be aware, and I want it in the record, Susan. The trucking company that I own
Comes through, this is moved.
independently currently contracts at SLT. Now, by that, I mean, they hire the truck, they hire Shirtlift, they hire a bunch of landers is pulling out of there. We're all running material for SLT. If there's no work tomorrow, then I'll be hauling for somebody else. I've got 15 other contractors that I work for, so this will in no way, again, with the permission of the chair, this will not affect my vote on this. But I wanted it divulged, I wanted it disclosed, so it doesn't appear of there to be any impropriety. Because whether we approve this or not has no effect on whether I work there or not, so. You okay with that?
I'd like to hear other people's opinion first, if I may.
I think you should recuse yourself.
Recuse himself from voting,
That's all I gotta say.
Dan?
I agree.
because I don't think that it's gonna hurt you.
Right now, it's,
If you're working for him, you're working for him.
I'm not working for them, you don't
You're a
understand.
subcon, I know exactly what you're doing.
It's a 1099. I own a trucking company. I work for a lot of
I
guys.
understand that.
So if Landers is building a project, I shouldn't,
Alan, it's work.
it has nothing to, okay, I'll go along with that. Whatever you want. This is up to this board. I'm telling you what it is. I also had Michael check with counsel. It has absolutely, it's up to me to recuse myself, just so you know. It's my decision to
I
recuse.
understand that, I
Okay.
understand that. But you're asking our opinion, I'm saying.
I'm asking your opinion.
All right.
And I wanted it in the record. We had it in the record that had a decision before this board, and we ended up being Brooks' landlord. So it needs to be, it's disclosed.
I understand that, and just as, you know, everybody can disagree or agree, I don't care. I'm just saying that it's kind of like on the up and up. As far as I'm concerned, I say no.
Okay.
But you could still be on it, it's just that I'm gonna show a no on my record, that's all.
A no or an abstain?
No, a no.
You're gonna vote no, saying-
Your opinion, your opinion,
Yeah,
okay.
not agreeing with
My
with
opinion.
Alan.
Strictly on my opinion.
Well,
I think, I don't want any of that Carver being Carver stuff showing up on the web pages and everything else.
Well, that's why it's being disclosed, Tim.
right, and I understand your point of view on this. I look at it as, and looking at it from a 180 degree. If he were able to vote on this tonight, would he, and had not worked for them, would he be able to work for them tomorrow? You know, it's kind
Sure, be able to work for them tomorrow, because they're not working for them today.
well,
Okay.
I think perhaps to keep peace in the family,
Well, you know that's not something.
so to speak, I know.
If something comes up, I don't want to be part of it, that's all it is.
We do have,
We would have,
we do have 4 voting members.
No, we don't.
you have 3.
We have 3 voting members if you want me to abstain.
But you still have a
Yes,
quorum of a
but you still have a quorum,
Still have a quorum.
and we require 3 people to vote if you abstain.
Majority of the quorum is what we need.
That's correct.
For yes.
That's correct. So,
If you guys are all right with my abstention, you all right with that, Peter?
Okay with that?
yeah, I still.
I think it's wrong, by the way, and I'll go on the record of saying that I'm not,
That's
you know
fine.
what, I have the floor.
I'm not
Excuse
saying you
me.
can't do it. I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
I understand, I'm sorry, Al, go ahead and talk. I'm just saying.
Because it attacks my integrity, all right? Now, I know where you're going with it, but I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with my ability to vote on this item. Doesn't matter to me if I don't ever haul another drop of dirt for SLT. I will still eat, I will still be in the trucking business.
Good.
So this has no bearing on my ability to work. If I voted no against this whole project, I would still haul material for him tomorrow, if he needed the material hauled. Nothing has to do with the other. That's my only statement. I will abstain to appease this board.
I don't think it has,
I'm asking you to abstain, Al, I'm not asking you to abstain from the board. All I'm saying is, I don't want Carver with all this.
I don't care what Carver with all this anything.
Well,
We
I-
do
that's the
everything
way
transparent here.
And I personally feel, that's my own personal feeling,
Okay.
that if you have anything to do with a company that's coming before you, you should abstain. But that's on my own feeling. That doesn't mean you have to.
Okay?
That's
We'll
all I'm
take it.
saying.
I don't think this has anything to do with your integrity.
Okay.
I think
don't-
it's a
I don't
matter
either. I was
of,
shocked that you said that. I'd never do something like that.
You know me well enough, Tim,
That's right.
that I'm very black and white, and I don't usually succumb to any of that nonsense, and I don't really care what Carver Helping Carver thinks, or Facebook thinks, or anybody else thinks. I vote my conscience, and I vote on my word. And I've gone against this board several times for the benefit of the homeowner and the benefit of the abutter, because I'm big on fair, and you all know that my whole thing is fair. So,
I'm big on the law.
just so you know, I'm
I'm-
fine
I'm-
with abstaining. We have enough to get this through for you.
You have 4 members tonight, and you're one of them, correct? Is that what I'm
That's
that's
hearing?
correct,
That's
4
correct.
voting members,
Okay.
correct. I just think from the standpoint of moving this project along and not having things hanging over it, possibility that you abstaining
Okay.
in this particular case would probably have a better benefit for
If it makes you all feel warm and fuzzy, I'm more than happy
the
to do
project
that.
itself. That's my opinion. But I would still would allow for you to take part in any discussion,
I appreciate that.
okay? So I need a motion to,
But we still have, I mean, you still have the issue that there is no file number.
We
So,
can't put the file
I
number
mean,
in.
you could wait to see DEP's comments, but I think the only comment was gonna be the filing fee comment. So what would happen is if you signed the order tonight, you could sign it and we close the hearing, but I just can't issue the order without the number. So we'd have to wait, till we get the number.
I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
You know,
Give me the order number.
Yeah,
That's easy.
done that before.
so I need a motion to issue the order.
I can make that motion because I'll abstain from the vote. So I can make the motion that we issue the order for RPBP LLC, Spring Street, various lots, NOI to be determined, the DEP number to be determined, it'll be issued as on the drawing, as provided on the drawing.
Need a second?
You also need a
Yeah.
variance.
I don't think you can issue an order without having an SE number. You can't issue an order without having an SE number.
It wouldn't be, I mean, I think you can sign the order. But it
She won't
can't
issue
be
it.
issued.
You don't have to sign it without, you don't have to sign it tonight.
Right.
You can vote.
We can vote on
We
it.
vote on
When
it,
the
not
number comes
sign
in,
it.
we can sign it.
We can sign it next
Right.
meeting.
You have, you have.
Okay.
All right, when we do that, we'll do that,
I'll
just
go
to be
for
I
safe.
that.
don't want to make
Okay.
you guys have to come back and do the exact same dog and pony show.
I appreciate it.
So we'll just do that to be safe, if we don't get any other comments or anything, that would probably be the best way to do it.
Right.
Okay.
So do I have a
you don't to
second?
sign it.
I'm sorry?
Do I have a second?
Yes, you have a second.
All right. It's
We haven't closed the hearing. I assume you guys are.
Yeah. Yeah, we
haven't
have
closed
to-
the hearing. We're not, you're not, you'll have your opportunity, believe me.
We have to put the
Sorry,
motion.
we just had a little family squabble here, that's all this was.
We have to put the motion out before we can
Other than
have
white
discussions. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the notice of intent contingent upon the DEP number coming in a subsequent date, at which time the order will be signed by the members of the board. All right, now we can discuss this. Anybody from the board have any questions of the gentleman, or
Not so far.
everything look okay?
On the good side of things, because I have done a lot of work with SLT, I can tell you about their integrity level. Everything they have done.
I know SLT too. so
I
don't have
haul
a
up to
problem.
the site they're doing in Situate, and Situate, I got news for you. We are a cakewalk compared to what Situate is doing to this gentleman. You talk about a very
I know
irate
SLT.
company,
I
a
don't have
very
problem with
irate
that at all.
neighborhood, a very volatile environment, an order of conditions that's as thick as this folder that Brooke's got in her hand here. It's a difficult site, and these guys shine. So, and that's, and I watch it. It's not because anybody's told me this, is I see it with my own eyes. So,
You don't,
their level of integrity is, in my book, I'm good. And I've been on a lot of other sites with a lot of other developers, and I've seen a lot of stuff go on, and it's like, wow, look at this. So, that's my 2 cents. But I'm sure that these nice ladies and gentlemen
no,
will have
I just want
something
to get this straight. Are you telling me that you're going to be coming before us for each and every building you're putting on the site?
Yep.
Within
Each
the
lot.
100?
Each
Well,
lot.
because they don't know
Lot,
what's
that's
gonna
what I
be
meant.
here, Tim. They
They're not-
don't know what's going
Well,
on.
That's not the exact location, Tim. Those are
Right.
conceptual.
Yeah,
I
these
think
are
you used the
placeholders.
term placeholder.
Placeholder.
That's exactly what
So,
they are.
okay.
Yeah. So all this notice of intent is for
Yep,
pretty
got
much
it.
the road,
Got it.
the drainage into
Yep,
the
got it.
retention.
Got- I don't
area.
have a problem with any of that.
That's
no.
what we're pretty much going on for tonight. All right, so hearing nothing else from the
To hear from the
commission, do we have people in the audience who would like to speak?
Yes, I'm Dorothy Pollitt.
Could you please come up so we can hear you on the microphone and
Come up to
sign
the
in?
microphone.
Sign in, please.
Signed in.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Dorothy Pollitt, 158 High Street in Carver. I'm the direct abutter with this project. My chief concern is that the project itself started with an earth removal permit. The whole forest, not the whole thing yet, a third of it, has been strip mined to street level. It's an abomination, it's an eyesore. I'm not against the town having an innovation park, business park. I kind of wish that we would go in the direction of Situate and Norwell and Duxbury, where the topography of the land is utilized, the trees and the forest as much as possible stay, so the town of Carver resembles the town of Carver and not the town of Brockton or the city of Brockton. Strip mining this whole area. From 44, you can see it. From my backyard, I can see it. I live with this noise 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. It's nonstop. We had issues with dust on Ricard's Pond. But the reason I'm here tonight is because I'm concerned about the permit to allow a drainage ditch, which already on Spring Street, PA Landers left us many around the on-ramps. And what they end up being in the middle of the summertime is green, smelly water filled with trash, these open pits called drainage pits, and we really don't need another one on this street. I don't think that Peter has obtained, what, over 40 acres?
I know where this is.
How many acres do you have? 40? Why we have to allow him to go beyond the wetlands marker when he's got 40 acres and he's got a brilliant engineer to design this property so that he doesn't have to infringe on our endangered species. This used to be a residential area. There were 5 houses built by Sawyer on that street. Then they relocated with 44. We were always told by Frank Mazzilli that that whole piece of property near Ricard's Pond was endangered species protected. Nobody would ever build on it. And then 44 went through, and all of a sudden, that's not true. I did do research in the town. I went to Ubrook, and we looked at maps, and we could not find a single one that said protected area.
That's correct.
But still, I think that we should stick with our conservation ideas, keep that border there, try to save some integrity next to the pond. I think that the chemicals and the water and the salt and everything that will flow into the water, now that there's no topography, will go into Ricard's swamp area and pond area. I'm just hoping that the board will not do a variance for the wetlands.
Oh, is there
Lot.
trees along here now? So they left the trees?
And when Peter first started this, he said, I'm not going anywhere near your property, and now all of a sudden there's an open pit for drainage next to my property, so I'm a little concerned.
Excuse me, where is your property on this
She's
plan?
at the corner of High and Spring.
Way down there?
Down here.
Down here?
This is the basin, so there's probably
Is this your property right here?
300 feet between the basin and the property.
No, I
So
think
you're
it's
not
her
near her
property's
property.
over here.
Well, it's the
Ma'am,
wetlands kind of in
could you-
between
could-
her property
Could you
and
come up here and just point on this map?
between her and the stormwater basin with the big picture.
Yeah, we can go to the big picture.
Right, the big picture might be easier.
Am I correct, Peter? This was required by the state that this end up being flattened out.
Pond.
This was state land,
This is Spring Street right here.
state land, and this went to the highest bidder, which was,
There's
Okay.
44.
This is
SLT.
his new road?
and you,
So
and it
I
was
am right
part of
here.
the deal
Right, so it's
that
right here.
this be the project that goes in. It needed to be a commercial project. Am I correct?
I
Here's
am right
Spring
next.
Street.
We had to submit
Okay, he
our
owns
plans for the
here?
property to the state, because
He
they
owns
wanted
all
to
the way
see the
down to
best
here.
I'm not way
Best use
down
of the
there.
property.
I'm right at his border. I am next door to him.
So this is the border right
Okay.
here.
But this was years in the
This is
making.
his
I've had
property
this
line, that's
discussion
my
with Stephen
house.
Cole.
Can we have one discussion at once, please? I'm sorry. Can we just
Are there
let,
trees here?
There are trees now, but,
Let them finish discussing the map,
it looks like those are going to be.
and then we'll get back to the whole
The neighborhood and
discussion.
I were always hoping, and we had talked to Peter, and Peter had said that he was not gonna be touching, the land, he was gonna leave it no cut, as a buffer area between, quote unquote, I'm not going near your property,
I'm not.
We're not.
but there's gonna be an open pit
Well, this is your property, right?
drainage.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, if I was going to the property, if I was going to that property line, I could see you having a problem, but I'm leaving, like 200, 300 feet there.
You're leaving what's there.
Pond is in
Right.
between.
300 feet.
And this upland?
No cut zone.
Yeah, that's what, it doesn't
All
show
this
any work
upland is
being
not
done at
being
all.
touched as well.
Here, let me show you, ma'am.
Go way over
See, here's the 65, there's the 100. He's stopping right here. He's not touching any of this. He can't.
So why
He
does he
can't
need a
touch it.
variance for the wetlands?
We don't.
Well, he needs
Is that
it,
why you're here tonight?
We don't need a variance. No.
You
he
need
just needs a,
our permission.
he needs a notice of intent,
That's right.
and which is what we're looking at tonight. But that section right off of your property isn't being touched according to this drawing.
That's right.
It's not being touched.
And if he were to not put
He's
that
got like
drainage
300
ditch in,
feet
we-
here he's leaving alone, between you and
The
his
open
developing area.
sewer pit.
Am I correct, sir?
Correct.
Thank you.
Is that gonna be covered, or is that gonna be an open pit like the other ones?
No, they can't touch this
They
at all.
can't cover it.
It's wetlands, they can't touch it.
No.
No.
She's talking about the construction of the retention
She's talking about the
basin.
detention
Right.
basin.
Let's not call it a retention basin, because there'll be no water in this. And the ones you see by the interchanges that the state makes,
different.
those are designed to retain water. They have pipes that are higher than the bottom of the basins.
That's right.
This soil is so, it's all sand and gravel.
It's gonna flow out of
It's
there
gonna,
like-
right, as fast as you can put it in the ground, it's
I
gone.
agree with him, ma'am, I've seen that site, it's so porous that if they build the retention pond with that material, there's no water that's gonna even stay in
And
there.
he has to put a place for the water that's in the street to go.
It's the law.
So the water is going to go into the groundwater, into my well, into
The water that's,
Carr's
when it
pond.
rains now, that water goes into
It's
your
going into the
groundwater.
ground, which is where it goes now.
But,
Well, the topography of the area of the forest that was there prior to the excavation, there was 20 feet high, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, of mountainous area that water went through. There was no salt from the roads because there was no road there. So nothing drained into
And when
Carr's pond.
and when Edaville cut out that entire hill in front of my driveway and cut down, strip cleared all those trees and took that big massive hill out of there, the impact to my property and the groundwater was zero. The
man,
impact to my groundwater now is because of the sidewalk. So I wish they had done exactly this. I wouldn't have a water problem in my driveway if they had done a retention basin. So this is exactly what they should be doing. If they were trying to get around putting a retention area in, then I'd be looking at this road saying, where the hell's all the water gonna go when it rains? It's much
their
cleaner.
developing area is more than 300 feet away from your well.
Yeah, it's
Which-
more than that.
Yeah, it's a long way off. So the town bylaws show 200 feet. So he's way past that. I don't think you're gonna ever have an issue with as far as contamination.
No,
of
we're-
the site, but I can't guarantee it. I mean, nobody can guarantee anything.
Well-
Basically, we were trying to protect the wetlands, the area around Ricard's Pond.
He's not touching the wetlands over here. He's not touching any part of it.
There's no discharge, piped discharge from this basin to the wetland or the buffer zone. So what we're required to do is comply with the DEP water quality standards for stormwater. There's a certain TSS removal that you need to meet with we'll call it a treatment stream, which is deep sump catch basins and sediment forebays, all these pre-treatment devices. We're required to meet a certain treatment standard, and we're meeting that standard. The planning board's consulting engineer has already reviewed it for the town, and he's agreeing with us. So
It's not good.
we're meeting all the applicable local and state regulations. for treatment for stormwater.
Just to complete my conversation with you, Stephen Cole indicated that in the years that this took, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because when this originally, the trees got cut down, the comment that went out on Facebook was, an oh my God, what's going on over here? And at that point in time, this was 3 years in the works, 3 years of multiple hearings, multiple meetings, multiple advertising. They had come before conservation, they had come before planning, they had come before earth removal, and a few individuals that posted on Facebook apparently just happened to notice a change in their neighborhood, and it was, oh my God, what's going on here? But this was so well notified of everyone. Apparently, a few people weren't paying enough attention to what was going on. But am I wrong? This is what the state wanted put here? They wanted a commercial development. Am I correct?
Yes and no. They were going to base the award for the property based on the best use of the property. So you had to pretty much spell out what you wanted to do with the land that you were bidding on. And what we'd proposed is exactly what you see on the plan.
Okay. And I know I've spoken with many people, I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
I've spoken with many people, and I'm going to put a little different hat on because I sit on the Finance Committee. And from a Finance Committee standpoint, from a town development standpoint, from a where's the next dollar coming from standpoint, this is the absolute best thing we can put in the town from a, there's no kids living in this, there's nobody using our schools, there's nobody using our resources, no fire, no police, and it's going to be 100% write us a check.
Okay.
So from that angle, that's the best use of this land. I have to agree with it.
How long is it gonna take you to clear all of that?
I am not
Yes.
disputing the fact
That ground?
that this piece of land is going to be Innovations Park. I'm not disputing that. The only thing I'm disputing is, do I want Spring Street looking like East Brockton, okay, or South Weymouth, where it's the natural scape of the area is completely strip mined for the sake of trucking out dirt, trucking out trees, trucking out everything, strip mining the whole topography in order to put this park in.
Ma'am,
We could have put this park in using some of the topography, some of the natural landscaping that the town of Carver is known for. Like Norwell, like Hingham, like Situate, where the frontage of the street entrance is beautifully landscaped architectural work, and then you drive in to the business park. I'm not disputing
look at
that
Route
the town
53
of
and
Carver
Norwell.
doesn't need every
Handle it.
dime it gets. All right, what I'm disputing is, do we jeopardize Ricard's Pond? Do we give up our 100-foot buffer zone? Do we have to strip it to street level so it looks like Brockton?
Well, we don't know what it's going to finish up looking like. Do you think it's going to be the slums? Is that what you're indicating?
But wait a minute,
I'm not saying
stop.
Brockton
Everybody's gonna
is
slow
slum.
down.
I'm not saying
Ma'am.
that at all. I'm saying that you can bulldoze and asphalt 40 acres of forest, and it's not the town of Carver. And as far as this already been going before the planning board for 3 years.
It has.
I've been watching this extremely closely. I've been to the earth removal permit. I've spoken to Stephen Cole. I know exactly what happened. The earth removal committee said, okay, take out the earth, and then the planning board found out that this is the way it's gonna look. So, please
Well,
don't say to me
I
that
beg
the
your pardon.
planning board
That's
had a heads up. that
It's
this is
absolutely
going to be-
not a correct statement you're trying to put on the record.
We're way off base here.
We are, our jurisdiction,
Excuse me, we are way, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to interrupt. But we are way off base here. This is a Conservation Commission. We deal with everything within 100 feet of a river, of the pond, 200 feet of a river. That is all we're responsible for. They are asking us if they have the right work done ahead of time right now. And what that looks like, and I'm on your side, and anybody who lives in Carver is, the issue is that you're talking to the wrong people. We cannot tell you, okay, we have no responsibility to this at all, other than anything within 100 feet of that pond.
That's my fault, Tim. I was trying to appease her to let her know that this is not something that was conjured up for the sole purpose of upsetting her. I don't want you upset,
I don't want you upset either.
but,
Have you
you know,
seen him?
this is what
Not what we're here for.
This is what we need. I understand it's not to your liking, but I also know that we haven't seen the finished result yet.
How long is it gonna take you to get all that dirt out of there?
3 to 5 years?
That's what I figured, it's 3 to 5 years down the road.
And Carver is, how many hundreds of millions of yards of material have been taken out of Carver to make room for bogs? How much sand? This is the sand capital of the South Shore. This is the place.
Everybody has it.
Everybody wants sand. This is
Carver
where they
gold.
come get it.
So,
Well-
it's 3 to 5 years before we even know what it's gonna look like, other than the fact that they cannot go within 100 feet of the pond, or your wetlands. I couldn't even say the pond, it's 100%, 100 feet within the BVW,
Without our permission.
without a notice of intent.
Okay.
Which,
Tonight.
yeah, but he's only doing this over here. We're giving him permission to do a specific thing. That is it. He can't go beyond what we say is okay, and they know that. He's not gonna come within 300 feet of your property. It's right on this, we approve what he has, all of this stuff he can't touch.
So the water drainage pit tonight will be approved on Spring Street.
Yes, but that is so far away from your property that
It's not
are you,
selfishly
he
my
has to
property.
have,
It's our neighborhood.
I understand it, but this thing has to have a drainage pit, okay? It's gonna seep into,
And can we do it, in a way that it is not, an eyesore? Can we do it in a, is there any engineering to put this underground
trees.
possible?
no, they're not gonna put it underground.
Right, I know.
Why
It would be 5 times larger in surface area if it was underground.
And
And then they'd be being.
isn't there gonna be,
into the wetlands.
there's a building out on Spring Street that's gonna hide it, and isn't there gonna be trees over there?
Yeah, you won't see this.
You'll never see it.
All trees, you have the pond, trees on the other side. This will be behind,
A building that's on
Building
Spring Street.
right. This
You're
is,
not even gonna see it.
She
You won't
won't
even
see
know
it.
it's there.
this is actually 8 feet lower than the road.
Right. So you'll never see it.
She won't see it because the pond's in between her and the property.
Yeah, and there's a hill behind that. You're not taking that hill out.
No, it's going,
Yeah, but there's a hill behind it
Right,
out on
exactly,
High
right.
Street. There's a
No,
hill
yeah.
that's, I don't think, part of
I've
this
seen what they
project.
built out there.
So I don't think you'll ever see the pond. You'll never see that retention basin unless you go in the park.
Different conservation,
Different uses.
different uses, and buffer zones are usually mostly, referred to.
BVW, what's indicated on the drawing here, and it shows where he's impeding of,
It's
you know,
actually
the
more
swamp
than
area?
the pond, 'cause the
Well,
edge
they
of the
can't
pond-
impede on that,
Yeah.
Which is above the pond itself.
which is, well, all you have to do, come here, we'll show it to you. Here's a very plain look of it, right here, ma'am.
That's the
Come on over
65,
here.
right?
Be glad.
But here's the mark.
Come on around so you see it better.
correct?
Come on around.
Need her name. Did she sign?
Show it.
This is the water.
No, but it's defined here a little bit better for you. Now,
Okay.
this
So
lady's,
but this
this
is water.
lady's property is
And this
over
is the
here.
BVW.
It's 300 feet before, here's the pit
all the
here.
trees, they're not
That's
taking
all the
the trees
trees, they're not taking any of
The
this.
65.
Now, this is the pond, okay? He's not
Oh, I
touching
know.
anything beyond that. This is
I'm,
all,
I'm concerned about how close it is to the pond.
This is her outline.
well, this is pitching in, not out.
But she's,
And that is in dry area, that's not in the wetlands.
Well, where is the wetland
Well, this
line?
is the edge of the pond, and this is the wetlands line right
So
here.
it's very close.
It's very close, but it's not in there.
So it's not actually,
Right.
I can, that's it, yeah.
Okay? So it's like, this is, they can't come within any of this, you can't.
See, here's the edge of the pond. This pink line is 65 feet from the
This is
edge
the
of the
100.
water, and the yellow line is 100 feet from the water.
See?
okay, so what, the 65-foot, is that considered the buffer zone?
The 100-foot, they have to
This is
do a
considered
notice
the
of
buffer
intent.
itself.
Okay.
I hope
Okay,
not.
Right.
so what he's doing is, he's
I hope
caving this
not.
in this way, you won't see it, and it's protected.
I'm not
See how this-
concerned about.
First 5 minutes today.
other- I mean, I understand
Literally.
Dorothy's upset
No.
about it. I wouldn't see it anyway. I'm concerned about what will happen
won't-
to the pond.
It won't affect the pond,
There, this
I
is,
can tell you
this
that.
is higher, the elevation here. You see here, this is 140 feet, and if you go down to the bottom of this, it's 134 feet. And then it goes up again. This is a higher
It keeps going
area.
higher and higher. The bottom of this is 6 foot below this, and this is 4 feet below this. Each line consists of a foot, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So to be clear, it slopes away from the
Slopes
pond.
Right,
in.
it slopes, this slopes that way, and this slopes back to the pond. So
Right
this
here
is,
Yeah, you have to
slopes
walk
back.
up a hill
I
to
don't
get
want
to this pond from where they're digging. And they're leaving all
Where-
the trees and everything.
This will all be treed. It's staying treed. I shouldn't say it's gonna be. It's staying
It's staying the
natural.
way it is. They're not taking any of that out. So you've got to walk up the hill and then down again if you want to see the
But
pond.
Mary,
So there's-
look at where the road is,
Right.
and then when you drive by it tomorrow, then
I'm
you
not sure.
account for this, account for this.
There's a building going here.
Yeah, right now, it's a construction site, and I agree, it does, it looks a
3
mess.
to 5 years.
But
increase
once they clean it up, it's going to be dramatically different than what you're looking at now.
Yeah, I think it will be. too.
Because right now, they've got trucks coming out in and out on both sides.
I used to work for a landscape architect.
Yeah. You.
This seems very large.
Hey, get over there, explain it.
Isn't this awfully large?
I think they're doing a great job.
They have to have it,
Collecting
that is
the water.
that is engineered for the size of the lot.
Right.
Being a developer, they don't wanna
Might be
make
late
this, they don't
tomorrow,
wanna
Peter.
spend any more money than they have to.
Me
So
too.
trust me, that's about as small as you'll get.
Yeah, where does,
From here,
I'll have to text Linda.
filters down.
it gets absorbed into
But doesn't that affect the pond?
Training tomorrow.
It
Yeah,
filters
I
through.
heard that.
Filters to
Why
the
would
ground.
You got
It's
Carver
Carrie's
sitting
gonna
there.
You should
give
have
me-
to go to that.
So
Carrie's gonna,
goes straight
this
down.
afternoon,
Go to that.
Carrie's gonna give me the nuts and bolts on the website. 'Cause I can get on the website.
Right now, tonight,
do
we're
the
voting
minutes
on
and the agenda and
these.
stuff.
These are,
And-
each
but
one
I
of these are
can't-
going to be
I don't know how to
done
like
in a-
add members and stuff, because they have, because Lynn never taught me that, so Carrie's
gonna
gonna
do
give me the.
two
When they want a
Buildings
building
subject.
here, they're gonna have to file
have
an
to come
NOI.
back to
They're gonna have to
us
file an
each
NOI.
time
Because
that
I'm
they
not paid.
want to build. Right,
Right.
tonight,
Employee.
we're talking about this and approving the fact that this is
And the ethics
retention
training,
pond
what
for
is
this
that, it's a
roadway.
dog and pony show?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all they're doing.
Like, I can't.
And all we're doing is giving
This
them
is crazy.
permission to excavate here to create this retention pond.
Is it going to be lined with stone or something, or how do
No
you do
stone.
that?
No,
Just,
it's just gonna be grass,
And it's,
all grass.
yeah.
No, it's gonna be an open area.
It'll be an open grass area with 4 feet deep, with gentle slopes, 3-to-1 slopes. I mean, all those lines,
Each line
each line
represents a
is,
foot.
each line is a foot, but
Represents a foot.
it's a 3-to-1 slope. So
Yeah.
the slope is probably like that,
Yeah.
like that. And as I said, the material is fantastic. It's permeable, so it's not gonna retain water. Like a lot of these you see, almost every one of
Those
these
are
you see.
designed to hold water.
Right. Almost all of these you see at this interchanges.
They're
You go
designed
down
to hold
you go down
water.
58, that's holding right, there's a ton of water in that right now. And the elevation of the water is like at the invert of the pipe that's controlling the surface, the elevation.
If you
of the
look
water.
out, if you look out in those retaining wall of ponds, you'll see a pipe sticking up. That holds the water level where it has to be.
On
it'll
page
flow over,
17.
and actually, when it flows over, it goes into the pervious ground,
conversations,
so.
Good.
Okay, so it's grass.
It's just grass.
Yeah,
Seems all
it's,
right.
it's
And it's gonna
grass.
be maintained, there's an operation and maintenance plan that was filed with the drainage report that mandates that after this is built, it has to be continuously maintained. That means the grass has to be cut. They have to inspect the berms to make sure there's no trees there.
I'll bet you anything, and this is my own opinion, it's all my own opinion, but when this is all done and they're out of here, there's grass there and they're gonna have to mow it.
That's right, it's gonna be bone
It's gonna
dry.
be it's gonna be bone dry, they're gonna have to mow it. That's what it's gonna be like.
And the roots of that grass are going to filter
That's right.
the water that goes in there.
That's right.
And cleanse it.
Well, I hope so, because
Well, there's
I have a well around here.
so
too.
all of these basins, so
Remember now, the
just,
town states that they can build up to 200 feet from your well. You're like 500 feet away. Where's you're on the other
Oh,
side of the pond.
I'm not personally concerned about my well at this
Oh,
point.
okay.
I'm concerned about the pond, though.
so the state requires that you provide a certain treatment stream to achieve that pollutant removal of 80%, total suspended solids. So, starting with the catch basins that take runoff from the road, they have to have a 4-foot sump to catch sand and grit
Dirt,
and
everything
dirt.
else underneath.
Then they have to have gas traps, so that the hydrocarbons, the floatables, the oils, the gasolines can't enter the pipes to get downstream. And then here, once it's discharged here, this is another sediment removal area. It's a forebay that has to be sized based on the number of acres that is in the watershed area. Then it overflows again into the basin, where, as you indicated, the science has shown that with root uptake, there's treatment for the run. It's like how a septic system would work, but this water, there's no.
It's never gonna fill.
No. No, so this is, and the assumptions we have to make as engineers are so conservative with respect to sizing
100-year
these,
storm,
that this thing, most of the ones we design are just dry all the time. I mean, you could there's such a factor of safety built into this. We have to provide a foot and a half of freeboard in a 100-year storm, so the top of this berm to the water level, and we're designing these for 100-year storm events that you haven't.
We had one a couple of years ago, I remember that.
Well, you might think.
So we
they're-
don't have to worry for another 59 years.
So, I mean, it's over-designed to the point where, I've had some towns, some consultants complaining that they're too big. Why do they have to be so big? We never see any water.
All right. Okay, we're done.
All right.
I think we beat the horse to death.
Okay.
Is this one mine? Nope, that's not.
You can appeal it.
Okay, I think we're done with discussion, so I'm going to call for a vote now. It's been moved and seconded that we approve, oh, yeah, could we get a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing for RPBP LLC Spring Street, various lots, contingent upon getting the DEP number.
Second?
I'll second that one.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Vote on, correct?
Yes, you may vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Tim.
Tim seconded. All right, so that passes 4-0-1. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the NOI contingent upon the getting the DEP number.
I can actually make that motion and didn't abstain from the vote.
All right,
Okay, you want to do it? Go
all
for
right,
it.
it's been moved.
Thank you.
Do you have a second?
Got a second?
All right, it's been moved and second to approve the NOI for RPBP LLC, Spring Street, various lots, contingent upon the receipt of the DEP number. Do you have order of conditions?
I do,
All right,
but I think we were gonna wait to sign it till we get the DEP
We are.
file number.
You have to wait till we have to file.
Okay.
Although,
can we go over what your order of conditions would be? Just so they're on the record, in case there are any questions?
yeah, let's
Has
see.
to be green grass.
Permitted under, because I mentioned the previous ANRAD that we had because of that. I just, pretty much went through, you know, the things that they had in their stormwater, report, maintaining all the stormwater, measures, things like that. Construction phase, have to notify me, when they install the erosion controls.
What if you're not here?
If I'm not here, then they can't do it. Then they can't work. Somebody will take my place. Not me.
Okay.
I didn't put my name in there. But yeah, no real.
Okay.
Yeah, unusual special conditions.
Okay.
All right. So it's been moved and seconded with the order of conditions, and based on getting the DEP number. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None?
One abstention.
2 abstentions. 302, it passes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you for your.
So do you decide, do you sign it or sway? Do we get
Wait.
I know, I gotta go
Wait,
home.
that'll have that thing.
You sure it's gonna take you 3 years, huh?
It's a lot of dirt in
We
there.
could use the tax, we could use that
A lot
tax
of
base.
material in there.
Tell you real quick.
So we could use that tax base, you know?
I don't either.
It's gonna be tax positive.
Yes.
Yeah, he's kind of enjoying just watching the gravel leave.
Thank you.
What? What was that?
No, I said, we could use the tax base in 3 years if he can get it going. But I said, right now, he's just enjoying the gravel removal.
Yes, yes.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right,
Thank you, Peter.
what do we need to do now?
All right, we need to approve, the minutes from April 17th.
My bedtime.
I move that we approve the minutes for April 17th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes for April 17th as written.
Oh, you looked at it? Okay. Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
they were all, they all came. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I can vote, right?
Were you at the meeting?
Don't be an ass.
So,
Sure. Jeez.
All right, it's 401. The last thing that we have tonight, we had the discussion of the best practices on the coal property that Dan had sent an email to me about, and
Chairman?
Yes.
Dan, would you object if we hold this till the next meeting, simply because it's 9 o'clock? And I've been going since 4 this morning. I mean, I can certainly,
You can abstain. Get
I
out.
can, and you guys are welcome to stay till the midnight hour for those of you that don't work anymore for a living. But I know that Dan's got to get up in the morning and go to work, and I know I've got to be back up at 4.
Oh, that's too
I
bad.
was going to suggest the same thing because Jim is not here. I was.
Oh, that's
Okay, that's
Jim
even
would-
better. I
Jim
like
would-
that one better than the fact that,
And
you
Jim
know, I'm a
has stake
wuss.
on the coal property. You know,
Yes.
he's been a lot involved.
Yeah, so I
He would
think
wanna
it-
hear
You
that.
want to be in charge of that, so.
And there's always,
You object to
years
that?
ago on this too, where there was a list of best practices that you might want to incorporate into some of yours also.
So if it's okay with you, I'd like to just move that and put it on the discussion for our next meeting.
That's fine, but per your comment, if I could get a copy of that previous documents regarding the best practices,
Okay. Does
and incorporate that in conjunction with
Would
some of
Brooke
the
have that?
suggestions I had.
Yes, we have it.
the best
What's
practices?
that?
Best practices that
He
were,
actually knows where it is.
In the coal, in that, is it in the big fat plan that's all bound together?
She'll hold it.
Two-
We
What is
have
it,
a
separate from the
DEP
plan?
number.
Okay.
That- You don't, you object to that?
No, I don't at all, but the only correction I would make is that my intent wasn't just for coal property, but for
Yeah,
any.
that's what I thought it was. We had that little.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think Jim would be interested.
I think Jim would be interested, and I think we only have one hearing on,
We only have one. It's
So-
Edaville.
all right, so,
Edaville
It
improved.
gives me more time to create some more trouble
All right.
too.
good, then go for it.
Did you sign that?
did you sign that?
Yeah.
No, you
You
didn't
sign
sign
it.
it.
No, I did not.
Yeah, we're going to sign it, and
I keep
then,
forgetting, you're standing there. You're such a quiet guy.
Still, you see,
all right, so we will take up the best practices on the coal property and other properties at our next meeting on May 15th.
Motion to adjourn?
Brooke, can you just make sure that's in the
second.
agenda for the 15th?
for-
The
yep,
best
put that
practices
back
on
on,
coal
yep.
property?
Motion
All right.
made,
So is there
seconded.
something separate, Peg, that, on just, that,
show you.
was it Audubon's writing up? What did that have to
We
do
had
with?
a whole meeting on this that went on for like 3 hours
Just with the Concom?
several years ago.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Now, let's just, we haven't closed this out yet, but as long as it's just us here, I just want you to know, Al, there is no way in hell that I would ever consider impeding on
I
any of
understand.
your abilities or your honesty or
understand.
anything else. I would never do that.
Okay.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I did that already, and it was seconded.
I'll second it, he seconded.
All right, been moved and seconded to
Tim's fault,
adjourn.
he kept talking.
Okey dokey.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It was an okey-dokey night.
Good night.
Okey
Thank you.